Well, political endorsements have long been a tradition for newspapers. They're usually ideologically predictable, filled with policy analysis and buried in the back of the paper. But like everything else with this election cycle, traditional rules don't apply.
The nation's most read newspapers is breaking tradition and endorsing anyone but Donald Trump.
Don't vote for Trump. A stark headline in USA Today's first ever presidential endorsement. Actually, an unendorsement. The nation's largest daily paper painted a dark psychological profile, calling Trump a serial liar, prejudiced, erratic.
The unanimous consensus of the board is that he lacks the temperament, the knowledge, maturity, steadiness that America needs in its president.
While USA Today isn't endorsing anyone,
reservations about her, quote, sense of entitlement, her lack of candor, and her extreme carelessness.
Other papers are totally switching sides. The Arizona Republic endorsed Hillary Clinton, the first time in its 126-year history that it is backing a Democrat. The paper is now reportedly facing death threats. The Cincinnati Enquirer is also backing a Democrat for the first time in almost 100 years. Closer to home, the traditionally conservative Manchester Union leader is backing libertarian Gary Johnson, saying there's a better choice. Well, you work for a newspaper that used to endorse candidates. To me, what this does is just play into his hand, because he's going to say, I told you, they're all prejudiced, they all have it in for me,
Well, people who are Donald Trump supporters, real diehards, are going to say, "Oh, this is the mainstream media. They're in the bag for Hillary Clinton." But that's not who these endorsements are addressed toward. I mean, the element of surprise when you are, and I worked for the Globe, which still does endorsements. It's just I formerly worked for the Globe. But the element of surprise is what makes endorsements effective. And in this case, the issue is somebody who's on the fence, who maybe doesn't like Donald Trump but isn't sure, who's Republican leaning and really has a hard time moving into the Hillary camp. This is the kind of thing that's so surprising and interesting that it might put them over the edge.
Well, what's interesting about this is you have a lot of newspapers that like to endorse the conservative candidate. And I think they're principled about it. They're more interested in the conservatism than they are the republicanism.
Yeah.
And this year you've got one conservative running for president, and that's Evan McMullin, of all people. So they don't know what to do, and I think a lot of them have concluded that the principled thing to do is to say, the Republic's not going to fall apart if we have another Democrat elected president, and we'll revisit it 4 years from now. But you see that a lot of Trump supporters are just going crazy about this.
There's also, not to be cynical, but there's a little bit of buzz value when you play against type, and like when the Globe endorsed Charlie Baker for governor, it was, oh, can you believe this? And a lot of attention is lavished on the media outlet that does it. It's worth asking if these endorsements are going to be decisive. I totally agree with you about who they're aimed at, but frequently in elections, we'll see a rundown of who newspapers endorsed and who ended up winning. And there's not always a strong correlation, so we'll see if this makes sense.
I wonder whether it's a sign of the general public shifting away from politics and ideology towards maybe just who these people are, what they stand for. Because you're not really talking about policy all that much when you're talking about Trump, at least not to the same extent as when you're talking about Clinton or when you're talking about previous candidates. So there's an element, I think, of I'm not a Democrat, but I can't identify with this person.
I think it's the singularity, though, of Donald Trump, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I suspect that 4 years from now, if Trump does lose and there's a more standard Republican who's running for office, that the Arizona Republic will revert to form.
I agree. I could see that happening as well.
And kudos to the Detroit News. I think this came right after Gary Johnson was unable to name a single foreign leader. The Detroit News said, go vote for Gary Johnson.
I know. I actually heard the editorial director of the Detroit defending that decision last night. Oh, well, he made a mistake, but he's still a better option.
I guess there's an assumption that he'll have some good advisors around him who could feed him the names of a few foreign leaders. Yeah.